Okay, we should be recording now, so sorry about that. And go ahead, Kulsum.
Thanks so much, Julie, and hello, everyone. My name is Kulsum Vakaria. Julie, you can skip to the next slide. I'm the Senior Director of Strategic Solutions at EdConnective. I've had the honor of working with Julie, Katie, Denise, and many of you here around some of the support that we've really offered to LEAs around literacy implementation. And really today, I wanted to take a little bit of time to give you all a couple of updates, what we've been working on, what you can expect, as well as invite any of you that haven't had a chance to engage with us yet or are taking a break from engaging with us to know how you can reconnect and make sure that you're connecting with your consultant. So if you go to the next slide, oftentimes, we start this conversation by thinking about what is our why for why are we supporting literacy implementation? How are we supporting folks in Utah? But I wanted to take a moment today and just zoom out a little bit to what is our why for EdConnective in general. This is our mission of every student thrives through the facilitation of exceptional educator growth. And the reason I wanted to zoom back on it a little bit is we have the opportunity today to hear from some of you all that we have actually supported around how we've helped educators across Utah really get to their mission and accomplish their goals. And so as you're watching on the next slide, I would invite you all just to think about your answer to this question. How did having access to an EdConnective consultant or coach impact the goals of each of these leaders? And I'll even stick that question into the chat for those of you that are visual. And you can think about it as you're watching now. Go for it.
Hold on just one second. I've got to stop sharing and then reshare with my sound so that it will do that. Give me just a second.
Probably do some work if everyone wants them.
I've been able to work with EdConnective multiple times, and it has been a huge support to me as I've gone through it.
It is so rewarding. It helps hold you accountable, but it is not intimidating in the least bit. It is just wonderful. It's a great support system.
You will be just amazed at how helpful it can be for you.
She has been able to just take whatever it is I need at that time, and we just get it done. And so it's really helpful because all the work I'm going to be doing anyway. It's almost just like meeting a new friend and having somebody else on your team. They're just there to provide the support, and at the same time it helps me be accountable to the things I need to get done, because there's so much stuff on my plate, and then I'm actually working on the goals that I want to accomplish, that I need to get done, rather than putting that off to do all these other things for everybody else all the time. And then I'm like, look what I did. Look at this work that I did. This is so great.
It might seem like it's going to be another thing on your plate, but really it's going to be something that helps you with something on your plate. You have whatever it is that year that you want to focus on. For me, I always have goals to grow. Whatever it is that you want to focus on, have that be the thing that they help you with, because then you're not doing it on your own. And then all the time that you're spending on a task or on a goal, you have someone there to rally for you, someone to cheer you on, someone to give you feedback, someone to give you ideas, because sometimes it's just starting, and them being willing to just share something is huge.
And I've been a coach myself for over 15 years. And so to have someone who is my coach has just been so incredibly helpful. It is just so nice to have someone who's like there for you. I don't know. It's hard for me to describe, because I appreciate my coach so very much. I really do. I really consider her a friend, because it's like we're in this together and she's there to support and help me. So it helps keep me organized. within the craziness of being a literacy director for a big district. And it has made all the world of difference. I mean, I just feel so grateful that I have someone that is there to help me.
Try it.
Just jump in and try.
I would encourage them 1,000% to do it.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I feel like it's just, I could say some of those things, but it's just so much more powerful to hear it in the words of folks that have experienced it. And I know, Kathy, I can see you on the call and a couple others. Thank you so much for sharing, and can always be an awkward moment to see yourself on video with everybody. But I think it will be, for any of you that are considering working with an Ed Connective coach, can give you a little bit about what that looks like. I'm going to use the rest of my time to give you a little snippet of what you can really expect. And so, Julie, if you hop to the next slide. This is a little bit of a zoomed out kind of what happens. So you will initially complete a matching survey. This is like hey, here's what I'm really looking for in a coach. Here's when I would like to meet. Here's what my goals are. And we kind of do our little algorithm, our online dating profile match sort of system in which we're finding the perfect coach for you based on your survey. And then you get to an intro session with that person where you get to talk about your goal and get to know them. And really those next 3, right, is what you'll do kind of over and over again. So after that, you might be submitting oh, here's a video of something I want you to watch, or here's my plan, here's a reflection of something that we're working on to that coach, and you meet to talk about it, and you repeat that cycle as many times as you would like within the 90-day session. And then after that, we take a little break, and you have a chance to reconnect with your coach or a different coach after that. So that's the really zoomed out version. And I'll take a minute to dive into the specifics of what actually could happen, right? What do you actually work on when you're in those coaching partnerships? Generally, you find that they fall into 4 buckets: partnership, planning, support, and guidance. And Julie, if you go to the next slide, partnership often is hey, there's something keeping me up at night. I don't know how to do this. There's a challenge, there's an obstacle, and I think they might be animated, Julie. So if you just do one every time, thank you. Yeah, go for it. You can put the whole thing out there. And so I just want someone to talk about this with, right? Can I have a thought partner to be able to discuss and bounce ideas off of? Planning is often hey, I'm planning on launching something. I'm reinventing how we do PLCs next year, or I really want to think through a new initiative I'm going to launch. This is okay, great. Let's create the plan together, right? Let's think about what the deadlines and the milestones are, what success looks like. How do we co-plan together? Support is often getting feedback for yourself. I led this meeting and it fell flat. Can you help? Or I have this is really not going well across our school. Can you provide me with some ideas? Can you provide me with that expertise to help think through how we could do this better? And then the last one is kind of just general guidance. Here's a resource that I can connect you with. Oh, do you know what's happening in X district? We want to make sure that you have that connection. So how do you kind of increase the plethora of resources available to you to be able to maximize your impact? I want to name too that this is fully funded, right? SB 120 or through SB 127 and USBE. This is fully funded and available to all of you. So this is at no cost to you, and you can get credits as well. And lastly, it's also pretty flexible. There isn't you have to meet X number of times or you have to do this. It's just you meet when works for you at the cadence that works for you, and you and your coach get to decide that together. So with that, I'll give you a couple of just last updates. One is just we're really excited and proud that we've done almost 1,400 sessions in the last couple of years. We've found that once people do get engaged with their coach, they're really excited to meet with them, and everybody feels like they're getting something out of it. And so I've seen a lot. And this fall, we'll take some time really to learn more from you all about what are the areas. Is there any resources that would be more helpful to you? What's really happening within your world? And so if you hop to the next slide, Julie. one new initiative we're launching just this October, and something that you might, all of you might get a phone call from us or something that is, hey, we just want to hear more from you about what are some of your priorities? What's happening in your world? Is there anything that can be happening in the support and guidance that we're giving you all that would be more helpful? And so we, expect our, you might get that phone call. We'll also have literacy roundtable available. We've had a couple in the past that are hugely successful where you get to just connect with other people that are going through coaching, think about what is happening in your world, hear from people what they're doing with their coach or how they're progressing with their coach, and just foster increased connections, within your own community. So those are a couple things to keep an eye out for. If you are curious about how to sign up, there's an email that you can see on the next slide, as well as if you click on that or type in that bit.ly link, it'll take you right there to like a QR code where you can complete your survey. We can get you matched with a coach. So I know that I have 1 minute left, but if there's any questions, feel free to stick them in the chat and I will respond to them. But also you can always connect with Amber or myself and can put those emails in the chat for you all as well.
Thank you so much, Kulsum. We really love the partnership that we have with EdConnective and how much support they are. Oh, there's also a QR code there too. So if you want to scan that QR code too, that can also get you to that matching thing as well. And so thank you so much. And now I'm going to turn the time over to Denise for her to share about oral language.
Thank you, Julie. And actually myself and Harmony Langford, our coach of coaches, are going to be sharing about oral language. We had the great opportunity to go to the Big Sky Literacy Conference. And the focus this year at that conference was on oral language and how important it is as a foundation to reading progression. And we both realized that is something that we haven't spent a lot of time or spent an emphasis on. And so we want to rectify that. And so Harmony and myself are going to be presenting at each of our literacy director meetings this year about different aspects of oral language. And so you have that to look forward to. And to start us off, I'm going to turn the time over to Harmony, and she's going to talk about some of the things that we learned at the conference.
Thanks, Denise. Julie, if you'll advance to the next slide, we're going to start out with a little poll. You can put your response in the chat. So the question is, or not really a question, but good oral language skills have an impact on phonological awareness is 1, 2, listening comprehension, 3, reading comprehension. I can't even get through the question. You guys know the answers. Social emotional learning or all of the above. And look at all those 5s coming in. Perfect. That is absolutely the right answer. Or good oral language skills have a huge impact on both our academic learning as well as our social emotional learning. So Julie, if you'll switch to the next slide, we can talk briefly about why that is. As we talk about oral language, I do want to make sure that we understand that oral language includes both the receptive and the expressive skills. So understanding speech and being able to communicate effectively with speech. And as you can see on this slide, oral language has a huge impact on teaching and language, as language is the primary means through which instruction for learning is delivered both in the classroom and beyond. It's also the foundation of our ability to learn to decode print and the ability to comprehend what we read. We'll talk a little bit more about that moving forward. Language is also the foundation for numeracy and counting, which is a verbal skill. It's through language that we're able to connect with other people, build relationships, participate in groups, and share experiences. And language is also critical in enabling children to name and regulate their emotions and their behaviors. If you'll flip the slide again. I know this group is well familiar with the simple view of reading, and we know that students must have both strong word recognition as well as language comprehension in order to be successful at reading comprehension. But because the simple view of reading separates word reading and language comprehension, one might infer that these are independent processes and fail to recognize that they're actually very interrelated and rely on language as their foundation. Will you click again there, Julie? So this shows that oral language as the foundation for both word recognition and language comprehension. And so as we move forward, you can click again, Julie. We're going to explore this a little more as we look at Snowling and Hume's Reading as Language model, which was just published this year. And it postulates that language skills have a causal influence on both word reading and later language and reading comprehension. You can see the quote on the right side by Dr. Neil Thompson, who's a big advocate for the importance of emphasizing early language development. She said, language is the ocean where each wave of literacy development occurs. And Snowling and Hume in their model have represented it as kind of in the appearance of waves as we think about literacy development, where each wave provides the foundation for the wave that will follow after it. So each wave is dependent on earlier waves and their development. So in this model, the waves are designed to convey the idea that each wave represents a particularly rapid phase of development for particular skills related to literacy. So, and as we look at this model, the waves represent the idea of going from younger on the left side to older on the right side. And even though they kind of some of them end in the middle, we know that most of these skills continue to develop throughout life. So as we look at this wave representation of the model, we can see that it all begins with the language development that starts at birth, and it shows particularly rapid development in the preschool years between the ages of 2 and 5. But as an unconstrained skill, we know that it continues to develop throughout the lifespan. Based on that language, we are then able to, as a child enters school, typically is when they really start to understand the relationship between printed letters and the sounds that they represent. And that typically, again, as I said, starts to develop with direct instruction at school entry around 5 years of age. And once that reaches a sufficient level of development, that then supports the development of word reading after a year or so. And then finally, with that strong word recognition and oral language skills, reading comprehension can occur. And the timing of the wave representing reading comprehension development depends on when the earlier waves have reached sufficient levels of development, but it typically starts its rapid period of growth during the second and third years of reading instruction. And so looking at this wave view of the model, it shows that language and literacy are interconnected and interdependent, and that language is at the heart of learning to read and a critical foundation for literacy development. If you'll click again, Julie. This slide shows a more extended presentation of Snowling and Hume's model, and it emphasizes the causal relationships between oral language and literacy development. So if you'll click again, Julie, we can see that along the top, we see the typical periods of rapid development for each part of the model, which we talked about a little looking at the wave version. And you can note that in contrast to the simple view of reading and Scarborough's rope, this model includes a pre-reading phase, showing that the development of language skills, speaking and listening, occurs before and helps to facilitate later literacy development. You'll click. Thank you. As discussed in that wave presentation, the second row demonstrates that early language development precedes and makes possible the development of alphabetic code skills, which then allow for word reading skill development, which as it becomes increasingly automatic, allows for the development of fluency that is necessary for skilled reading comprehension. And then finally, with another click, when we look at the bottom row of the model, those early language skills are predictive of later language skills. And language skills are also closely related to what people often refer to as world knowledge, which again is often conveyed through language. One more click. All right, and then if we look at this right side of the diagram of the reading as language model, if you look at those those blue circles and the highlighted arrows, this essentially represents the simple view of reading, where we have our word recognition, our language comprehension come together in order to enable reading comprehension. And there is a significant amount of longitudinal data that also supports this model. I'll just share one piece real briefly before turning it back over to Denise. But in research with a variety of children, some at risk for dyslexia, some typically developing, and so on, the research by Snowling and Hume found that language at age 3 predicted code-related skills at school entry, which later went on to predict word reading skills after about a year of school, and finally could predict reading comprehension at the age of 8, in addition to variances in word reading, excuse me. And so this reading as language model helps us to see that anything we can do to strengthen language will also then strengthen both code and word reading and later language development and comprehension as well. Turn it back to you, Denise.
Thank you so much, Harmony. And wow, she did such a good job of taking an hour-long complex presentation that we had and making that digestible for you. And Julie, if you'll go to the next slide. So just want to share with you what's next in our plan of sharing it at our literacy director meetings. So on the November 13th, we'll talk about universal screeners or diagnostics for oral language. In January, supporting oral language development and what that can look like in Tier 1 and Tier 2. And then our final one will be on educating parents on that oral language development. We know how important that birth to 5 is, and that's out of our control at schools. And so hopefully we can help educate parents to increase their oral language development in their children. Okay, next slide. And super excited. So Harmony introduced the Reading as Language model from Maggie Snowling and Charles Hume. And they also, if you haven't heard of them, wrote the Science of Reading book way back in the 2000s. And they both work at Oxford University and have created a screener and an intervention for oral language that is used throughout England. During COVID, England used their money to do, if you've heard of the Nelly, that is now available to us. And so he had developed that Reading as Language model that Harmony presented on. So if you want to learn more than just Harmony's little 10-minute snippet, he has agreed to do a webinar for us. And so we want to invite all of our literacy directors and literacy coaches to a lunch and learn on October 14th. You do need to register in Zoom, and Courtney just put the link in there in the chat for you to do that. And then we will record that and share it out on our LD listserv, so that if you're not able to make it, that you'll be able to watch the recording. But it's always best if you can come in person, because you can answer questions, ask questions, and get those answered from him. So we hope that you can join us at lunch on October 14th for this amazing opportunity. Oh, maybe there might be something wrong with my Zoom link, so I'll get that fixed and we'll share it out in our next LD one. So I might have copied the wrong thing in there. So I'll get that fixed. All right, next slide, Julie. And if you would like some more resources, they are linked in our presentation. If you want to read his research and look at his models, he did a webinar with Nell Thompson, and she that was really good if you would have liked to watch that. And then there is another, he's with Nellie, there's another company called Language Dynamics, and they put together some information on stronger language, stronger readers. If you'd like to look at that, we've linked all of that. Thank you, Julie. Next slide. All right, so like we said, I'm at the Collective Efficacy Institute this week, so I'm putting all of my things at the first so that I can go back to that. And so I'm just going to be sharing some upcoming professional learnings. Next slide. So this first one is Collective Efficacy. So too late if you wanted to come down to St. George and enjoy the beautiful fall weather down here in September. We're just wrapping that up, but there is an opportunity in February in Salt Lake for part 1 for new participants in Collective Efficacy, or part 2 to take that learning further for those who have engaged in part 1. Also, there is a monthly webinar for those who have participated in Collective Efficacy with Jenny Donahue. And those are once a month from 4 to 5. You need to register in Zoom for those. And there is a folder that I have shared that has all of those recorded so that you can access those. But once again, best in person because you can ask Jenny questions and engage with others that are working on collective efficacy. Okay, next slide. And then change management. So we are on our final cohort for change management. So if your LEA has not participated in change management yet, this is your final opportunity. It is going to start in February of 2026, but the registration deadline is November 4th. I have tried to be in contact with LEAs that haven't participated, but if I happen to miss you, or if you're a new leader and haven't participated, please register for change management, your final opportunity this year. Next slide. I'm super excited. We just barely got this wrapped up so we could announce it. We are bringing back Anita Archer again for a week-long explicit instruction Train the Trainer Academy in January. So this opportunity is for people who haven't participated before when we had her come a year and a half ago in May. And it is available to elementary literacy leaders and coaches. The idea with this is that we're training people who will then train teachers. So it is not available for teachers. We want to have a bigger, a broader impact that you will learn about explicit instruction and then take it back and train your teachers on that. So it is in January at the Davis Conference Center. There is a pre-registration link. And it's called pre-registration because I just want to make sure that we don't have anyone who's coming again who already participated and that we have elementary leaders and coaches. It's very popular, so we want to make sure that we're getting the right people to come to that. And then you will be notified in November if you are selected to participate in that. And then I do have, there is a hotel by the Davis Conference Center if you travel that you'll have a discounted code for a block of rooms to stay there. But it's an amazing opportunity to learn from her, to have a whole week with her, and learn the ins and outs of explicit instruction so that you can take that back and train your teachers. And then I don't have a flyer yet because this is just new and working on it, but on January 15th from 5 to 7, she has agreed to do a session at Syracuse High with teachers. So we're going to invite teachers to come and learn from her for 2 hours then, and that will be recorded and available, and it's going to be through Harmonies from the Science to the Classroom webinar Zooms. So it will be on Zoom, but we will record it and share it as well. All right, next slide. Also, it's time with the year starting up for the Science of Reading Award nominations. So if you have somebody that you would like to nominate for the award, please complete this form. Just to remind you, the categories are, you can nominate a school leader, a principal, a teacher, a district leader, or a coach. And just because of the number of nominations that we get, just want to let the literacy leaders know that we will reach out and ask you to help vet those nominations if we get a lot that, and have you do like a kind of a pre-screening before we come out to vet those. But it's so exciting to recognize all the great work that is happening. So please, if you have somebody that's doing amazing science of reading work, if you'll please nominate them and we'll get started on giving those awards out. Next slide. Then I just have a couple of letters updates. So as of July, we have finished our contract with Lexia for letters, and that was part of SB 127, and some people used their ESSER funds for that. So there is a link to the final report if you would like to look through that. I just have a couple of highlights. So we had 11,847 licenses that were purchased. Out of that, 10,943 were consumed. So that's a 92% implementation, which is very high. That's one of the highest throughout the United States that they've done. And then our completion rate. So for volume 1, we had 95% that completed. Volume 2, 86% completion. And we assume that that went down because that's the next year, or maybe some people moved positions and didn't finish their letters training, which is unfortunate. And then we did have a lot of growth in the post-test that you would take. So the volume 1 post-test had an average of 28% points of growth, and the volume 2 post-test was an average of 22 percentage points of growth. So super exciting, and that we had that many teachers that were trained about the science of reading and are now implementing that in their classroom. Okay, next slide. And then you might have heard this because it's been starting to show up. We have been able to have letters completion added to educator licenses. So we used from that letters report of those 10,000 people, the ones that completed all the way to unit 2 through volume 2. We shared that with our licensing department, and they have added that onto the cactus. It's under where endorsements would be, and it just says letters completion. So we tried to catch those, but there's a lot of people that we might have missed who have, if their LEA provided letters outside of what USBE provided. So I got some of those updates, and those will be showing up by the end of September. So after the end of September, if you have somebody who reaches out and is not seeing it, then have them complete this form, and then we can verify that they completed letters and add that to their license. There were some issues with cactus numbers. If their names didn't match exactly from letters to what it is in cactus, then it didn't get through. So if you'll please have them fill out that form, we'll try to catch everybody that completed, and they do have to upload their completion certificate on the form for me to verify that they completed that, so that they find that in their letters profile. If you have any problems or questions, just reach out to me on that, and I'll be happy to help them. But if you can wait until the end of September for that last bit of updates, we sent about another 1,000 names. So Courtney, I think just put in the link, if you'll put that in again, Courtney, the link for the form for that. And I think that's it for me. If you have any questions for me before I go, if you'll please put those in the chat, I'll stick on for a minute and answer those questions. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll turn it over to Julie.
Okay, thank you so much, Denise and Harmony, for sharing about oral language and those updates as well. And now I will turn it over to Dallas Brooks, and she is going to share some assessment updates. So go ahead, Dallas.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Like Julie said, I am Dallas Brooks, and I am just going to be sharing some assessment updates with you. So the first update is that our ELA Rise cut scores were approved by the board during the September 11th meeting. So we are very excited about that. And this means that our score reports for reading and writing should be available late October is what we are aiming for. So you should see those late October. If you want to refer back to the board meeting on September 11th and see the discussion that they had revolving around these cut scores, you are welcome to watch that video on their YouTube page. So that's the first thing we're very excited about. Julie, if you'll go to the next slide, please. And then I just wanted to mention the Writing Rise benchmarks that we have. Thank you so much to those of you who encouraged educators to give this field test last spring. It really made a huge difference and made it so that way we can have this resource available to educators. So starting in November, we will have writing benchmarks available for grades 3 through 8. So teachers can go in and assign those benchmarks to students. There will be informative and argumentative prompts available, and teachers can choose which one they have the students take. However, grade 7 will only have one prompt available. We did not get enough responses from grade 7 in order to have more prompts. Therefore, we will be doing a second round of field testing for grade 7 only. And this is going to be in the first part of the calendar year of 2026. So please look for that during like January to March time. And if you could also encourage 7th grade teachers to administer this field test, we really want to have more prompts available for 7th grade, because right now there's 4 prompts available for each grade level and only 1 for 7th grade. So please look for that and continue to encourage 7th grade teachers to give this. It's a little hard because there's no immediate feedback, so I completely understand that it feels like there may not be a reason to give this in the beginning. Teachers aren't getting something in return for giving it, but in the long run, it makes it so that these benchmarks will be available. So there is a reward in the long run. and we really need to get these. So please encourage your 7th grade teachers to do so. And the updated rubrics are available on the Utah Rise website. It features a 6-point scale for both content and conventions. So this is something that is different for this new grading on the writing assessment, is that students will receive 2 completely separate scores. They will receive 1 score for the content of their writing, and then they will receive a completely separate score for their conventions that are used within the writing. And those are not combined. So 2 different scores there. Like I said, those rubrics are available on the Utah Rise website. Please note, though, about the rubrics that they are for on-demand writing, and so please do not use these rubrics for writing that has gone through revision and editing cycles. It's solely just for on-demand writing. There are also annotated samples available on utahrise.org for grades 5 and 8, so you can see examples of student writing that would reflect each of the score points. Will the recording be sent to us if we can't? Okay, I was just checking the chat, but I think that's different from this. Okay, Julie, if you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, and then I wanted to address, so last year, some of you may remember that there was some confusion when it came to the growth on ALO. So just kind of switching from Rise to Acadience. And a lot of students, even though it seemed like they reached their goal, they were not making typical or above growth. They were making below or typical growth. So we have worked with Acadians all summer long to get this adjusted. So just some background information, and this is in the slide, but I'm not going to read all of this to you. The date for the goals last year were set for the midpoint of the last 3 months of school. So a lot of schools that ended, a lot of LEAs that ended up being about April 15th. So it was saying the student should make this goal on April 15th. However, that was before our state window even opened for the end of year benchmark assessment. And so when students went and took their assessment, it was after April 15th, and that aim line continued to go up. So students were expected to make more growth because they had had more days of instruction after April 15th, or that midpoint of the last 3 months of school. So we worked with ALO, and we have adjusted where that date ends for students' growth goal. And that is the last day that is set in your testing window. So it's individualized to each LEA in each testing window. Julie, if you'll go to the next slide, please. So this is just an example of that. So within your ALO system, each ALO account manager sets the testing windows in there. And the last day of the end of year benchmark testing window is the date that will correlate to the student's target pathways goal. So the issue that happened last year should not happen this year. It should be fixed. It correlates to that last day. There is a caveat, though, of if you test after that, because remember, the state window is 8 weeks long, but ALO will only let you put in a 4-week window. So even though you have that 4-week window, you still can test after that last date that is set. You can't test before the first date. So this example here, April 15th, you can't test before April 15th. The window won't open. But after that last day on the 4-week window, you still can continue to test if you're in a larger LEA and you need the full 8 weeks. So Julie, if you'll go to the next slide, please. So here you can see, so this is that caveat I was talking about. So if the goal is set for that initial goal right there, for that initial goal right there, that's the last day of your testing window that's set in ALO. So if you are a larger LEA and you need to test past that date, the aim line will continue to move up. So again, if you're testing past that date that's set in your ALO, you're going to have the same issue that we ran into last year, because the target date, so it's saying on this day, the student should be able to reach this goal. And if they're tested after that, their goal is going to go up because they have more instruction after that date. So keep that in mind as you're setting goals for students on ALO if you're in a larger LEA and you're going to need to test past that date. Julie, will you go to the next slide, please? Thank you so much. So just keeping that in mind, please be aware of your goals. So here's this example. In the middle goal, the student has a typical range here. So their composite score would be 125. They're making typical. But if you look to the left side of that, if it goes down just 1 point to 124 composite, the student drops to below typical. So keeping in mind those students who you may need to test after that date is set, if you are putting their goal just right on that typical line, if they're tested after that, they're not going to meet their goal. And so when you're looking at goals and setting those goals, please have high expectations for students. If you look at the example on the right side of the middle example, that puts the student at a composite score of 164, and they're still making typical growth. So they can still be within that typical band. There's quite a big variety there. You can see going from 125 to 164. So please have high expectations when setting goals, especially keeping in mind those students that might be tested after the last date that's set in your ALO account. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then please just verify that your school year start dates and testing windows are correct. They have to match your first day of school and your last day of school. It can't be the first day that you're testing. It does have to be the first day of school. This plays into the pathways calculations. So please just keep that in mind. Double check this. We have asked assessment directors as well to double check this. And I have gone through and spot checked a lot of LEAs. They seem to all be correct, but please just verify that those are right in your account. And then next slide. And then here is your testing windows if you need to refer back to that to check for your account. Also, please just remember that parent notifications need to be sent out by October 30th. We're getting towards the end of the window for BOY, and so a lot of you should be wrapping up. Just remember that those parent notifications need to be sent out by the end of October. And then next slide. And then I'm very excited for this, but we do have Acadience parent resources that will be coming soon. The first resource will be available on September 30th. This will be shared with assessment directors, and then I will also share it with Julie so she can share out to our literacy directors that are here in this meeting with us today. The first one is just an overview video for parents to watch. It'll be a QR code that they can scan and go to the video. It just gives an overview of what the test is, why we're using it in our schools. And then moving forward, I'm going to plan on having more resources coming out throughout the year. These are specifically aimed at parents for helping them to understand the Acadience assessment and the things that they can do at home to help support their children. So I have a couple questions in the chat. The first question from Robin: I am sorry, I do not have a timeline yet of when teacher names will be added. We are still working on it. We have a meeting with ALO next week to discuss it some more. So we are still working on it. I apologize for that. I know that it's a huge inconvenience, but I promise we're working on it. The Acadians video will not be in Spanish, unfortunately. Right now it's in English. We are working on trying to get it translated into Spanish, but that's another big process that it has to go through. So I'm hoping to have that by next school year. But again, right now it's only in English. And give us an update on the Acadience parent letters. Are they working on it so we don't have to send an additional? So the Acadience reports that are within ALO, those will never change. So ALO is a nationwide company. They use it for every state in the country. So those won't change. We will have to have the additional letter that's sent out that's specifically from our state. So I'm sorry about that, Natalie. That's probably not the answer you were looking for. But yes, there will be two letters. So the one from ALO, which is the individualized student report, and then also our letter that's just explaining where students are at in regards to being on grade level or not. And are the parent letters not due 10 days after the final assessment completed by the school? No, parent letters just need to be sent by October 30th. So that's your deadline for parent letters, is October 30th. You can send them before that, of course. The sooner we can get information to parents, the better, but your deadline is October 30th. And then let's see. first. We found that if we share it earlier, is this acceptable? Do we need to share it? So Jesse, the deadline is October 30th. If I were in your shoes, this is my suggestion. I would send it out to parents and then also have an additional copy to talk about at parent-teacher conferences, just that way you can cover both of your bases. I will also send the letters to Julie so she can email them out and you can have that link. That way it's just available for everyone. And let's see. And then our
Dallas,
other question.
there
Yeah,
was
please.
one other question that said, I also have a teacher who wants to test blue first graders on DORF starting now, not at middle of the year. Can we do that? And that I believe is a no. Isn't that correct? I'll let
So
you answer that.
my question is are we talking about progress? I just need some clarification here. Are we talking about progress monitoring for students there? And I don't know the first name of who asked that question, but please feel free to come off. Okay, yes, progress monitoring. So if you have a student who is blue, they only need to be progress monitored once between benchmarks, between BOY and MOY. That is the Acadience guidelines. And it's just a check to make sure that they are still performing on track and that they haven't lost those skills. So no, I would not do that. But I would just schedule that progress monitoring to happen before, MOY just once in between just to make sure that they're on track, but there would be no reason to start progress monitoring on ORF just because they're already blue and they're so high that we only progress monitor them once between benchmarks. I hope that makes sense. Please let me know if that doesn't make sense.
I also think that we have a frequently asked questions document, I think, somewhere about them, and I think there is a question regarding that on there or similar. So
Yeah.
we could get that too.
So
and she asked what you would progress monitor them on, and I believe it would be nonsense word fluency.
yes. Yep. Nonsense word fluency. Thank you so much for these questions. Do we need to report all invalidations, even though yes, please report all invalidations to me. So just send a quick email to me. If it falls within the acceptable invalidations in the technical manual, you can invalidate that. If it doesn't fall within any of those, please send me an email before you invalidate it, just so I can check and give permissions on that. I will put my email address in the chat. That way you have my email address. You are welcome to send me any emails. Let me know any questions. But I appreciate being here today. I appreciate the questions. Looks like Melissa asked, we only need to test our blues once between benchmarks, not once a month. Correct. The Acadience guidelines is once between benchmarks for your blue students. Green students are every 4 to 6 weeks. Blue students are only once between each benchmark. And because the suggestion, oh, there's so many questions. The benchmark is only every 6 weeks due to changing the progress monitoring enrollment frequency. Currently the only options. So Leah, within ALO, if you have a blue student, so your green students are every 4 to 6 weeks. So when you enroll them in progress monitoring, choose the 4 weeks option. Giving them more progress monitoring is never going to hurt. And then I would just, as the teacher, keep it in the back of the mind. If I need to have some of those students be a little past due and get to other students first, you can. For the blue students, there is an option to do a one-time progress monitoring. So you don't have to enroll your blue students in progress monitoring at all. You would just do the one-time progress monitoring for them. I will try to find that document for the frequently asked questions and put it in the link. I will try to look for that during our break time. And why is kinder weighted so heavily on LNF when it isn't really monitored? So kindergarten LNF, that's always a tricky one. We get asked this question a lot. Letter naming fluency is not a required skill to be able to read, right? I don't need to know that the letter C is a C in order to know that it says K and to be able to blend my sounds using that. However, it is a very strong predictor of future reading success. So this is why it's not progress monitored and why there's no benchmark scores on Acadience. However, because it is still a predictor, we want to assess that to see how students are doing. So part of that goes towards their composite score. we're not progress monitoring students on it, but it is something that we should still be aware of and we should be working on students with during their Tier 1 instruction is those letter names and the correlating sounds. Okay. And then it's the same question as Melissa, do we enroll them in PM and then once after do it, remove them from permanent? So Natalie, your green students, you can enroll for every 4 weeks, like I said, and then if they get behind a little bit and are past due, that's okay. Like I said, with your blue students, you can do a one-time enrollment, not enrollment, sorry, a one-time progress monitoring where you don't have to enroll your blue students in progress monitoring. Okay, thank you so much for the questions. There were lots of them. I hope that I answered them in a way that was understandable. If not, if you still have questions or any confusion, please reach out to me. Again, I'm going to throw my email there in the chat so you have it available to you. I'm happy to answer any questions or give any clarification on the things that we talked about today. And Brooke, the frequency for students who have a red composite score are every 1 to 2 weeks. The frequency for students who have a yellow composite score are every 3 to 4 weeks. Easily accessible. And Michelle, as of right now, they are not working on that. They've kind of bumped up like class names and things like that in place of it. So they are working on class names instead, but it is definitely something that after we get the class names figured out, I can throw back into the, hey, let's start working on this again. And
there was one other question about if letter naming fluency is their lowest score, where should you progress monitor?
Thank you, Courtney. So you cannot progress monitor on letter naming fluency. That is not available within ALO just because, like I was talking about, it's not a prerequisite skill. It's just a strong predictor of its success. So you can't progress monitor on letter naming fluency. So then you're going to want to start progress monitoring on first sound fluency. So if you have a very low kindergarten student, the first thing you're going to start progress monitoring them on is first sound fluency because you cannot progress monitor on letter naming fluency. However, as the teacher, I should be cognizant of my student having a low letter naming fluency and still be working on that with them. You just won't be progress monitoring it. Okay. Thank you so much. Like I said, I will look for that frequently asked questions document, and I am just going to throw my email in the chat again so you have it. Progress monitoring for greens and blues is optional. Yes. So Senate Bill 127 does require that we have students in grades K through 3rd who are red and yellow have to be progress monitored at rate. So that is the bare requirement. K through 3rd, reds and yellows, progress monitored at rate. However, best practices is that we would still continue to progress monitor our greens and blue students and our 4th through 6th grade students as well if they are taking the Acadience assessment. So that bare minimum, do what you can. And then, like I said, best practices, please continue to monitor your other students just to make sure that they are on track and we are giving them the help and support that they need as well. Again, thank you so much for letting me be here today.
Thank you, Dallas. And now I'm going to turn it over to Christine for some legislation updates from last year and reminders. So,
yes, I just have one that I'm going to go over today because it is a great one to review now that school has just started, because we may have a few of these situations come up. And this has to do with students who start kindergarten in another state where they had a later start date. Our start date, they have to be 5 on or before September 1st. So there are about 15 states that have start dates that are later than that. And some of them go all the way up to January 1st. So occasionally we get these students that have started in another state. They come to our state in the middle of the year. They were enrolled in their state. They come here and we were denying them enrollment because it wasn't allowed. So we did have a change in legislation last year and just dealt with that out-of-state transfers. So effective this school year, an LEA may enroll a child who doesn't meet our Utah state standard age requirement if the child moves from another state than Utah where they have already started kindergarten. And then they transfer to our school after the year has begun. So just making you all aware, because that's a very different change. And it shouldn't affect a lot of people, But we do get a handful of students every year that call and they're pretty upset that they can't continue on with their kindergarten program. So we're excited to announce that, and just if you'll share that with your elementary principals and their secretaries, so that when we have those students that are coming in, they can continue on with their education. And that is the only update that we have for legislation as of right now.
Okay, and it looks like we are just about right on time. So we are going to take a quick 10-minute break. We will come back at, we'll just go right to 10:10. So you'll actually get an 11-minute break. So if you have any additional questions, I think Dallas is here for I don't know if she's staying the whole time, but she is here. So if you have assessment things, you can answer she can answer those, or in the chat box, or we can catch those in the Q&A time as well at the end. So we will see you back here at 10:10. Thank you. All right, it is 10:10 and we will be coming back. And so another quick look at our agenda. We'll check in where we're at. And for the next few minutes, we are going to talk about our 24-25 end of year data and kind of go over a quick review for that. Then we'll talk about some more professional learning opportunities, and then take another quick break. And then we'll have some resources to share and some reminders of some upcoming things. And then we'll get into our Q&A time. And so to start looking at our 2024-2025 end of year data, we're going to first take a look at our pathways. And so looking at our pathways of progress, we do this year, this is grades 1 through 3 combined, and we do see a little bit of a dip in that pathways. And we are kind of looking at the impact that end of year date had, where they were measuring that pathways of progress. It likely impacted our pathways of progress overall scores. So we do see that little bit of a dip, but we are looking at it most likely being attributed to where that date was set on April 15th. And so unfortunately, we can't go back and fix that or change that right now. And so that isn't an option. So it does look like we took a little bit of a dip in our pathways this last year, but also something to always keep in mind and keep track of when we're talking with teachers and looking at data and doing data dives with them. We want them to use the submeasure scores and the pathways of progress growth in conjunction with each other when they're looking at their progress monitoring and making sure that they are having impact on students. We don't want to just focus on just the composite score or the outcomes, but we want to be looking at those submeasure scores, and we always want to keep that growth in mind, especially for our students who are below or well below benchmark. Setting those those growth goals in the above or well above typical growth is where we need them to be in order to start closing those learning gaps. So always keep that in mind when we're looking at pathways of progress. And then jumping into proficiency. So remember, when we're talking about proficiency, we're talking about combining the at and above benchmark. So this is different than reading on grade level. So proficiency does combine the at and above benchmark students. So looking at our kindergarten, first, second, and third grade scores, our kindergarten is about where they were last year with proficiency. And then our first grade took another little bump up in that proficiency. So we're excited to see that continually going up. And then second and third grade, we were again kind of stagnant on increasing the proficiency levels. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're looking at proficiency. It's combining that at and above benchmark. And then looking at our reading on grade level. So remember that we don't really see a correlation to that above benchmark group correlating with our reading on grade level. And remember, the correlation for reading on grade level is the students who are likely hitting that blue area have a higher percentage of being able to be proficient on Rise as well when they get into third grade and beyond. So this is so reading on grade level helps us to see which students are on track for hitting that proficiency or above in on Rise. So that is why we kind of look at this, and knowing that Rise is our assessment on standards, and we want our students to be able to master our standards and demonstrate proficiency in those. So we really don't see a correlation with kindergarten scores, which is why we don't technically have a reading on grade level for kindergarten measure, but it does start in first grade. And so looking at our first grade, we did see another increase to that reading on grade level in first grade. So we were super excited about that. I think it is at 49.7. We're so close to that 50%, which is super exciting. Also knowing that this group of first graders that ended the year last year will be our third graders in 2027 that our goal is based off of. So in SB 127. So still really keeping a close eye on these kids, and they're entering into second grade. And we celebrated so much at the state level because our second grade showed growth this year. So after years and years of either having declines or very stagnant data with our second grade, we did see an increase of, and I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it was 0.6%, which for a whole state, we're excited about that. So we were excited to see that growth in second grade. And then we also saw a slight bump up again in third grade. And so we're starting to see the impact of the things that we've put into place starting to take place in our data. And so we're super excited to see this. Hopefully we'll continue to see this go up, and as we go throughout our years. And then looking at students, oh, did I go backwards? I went backwards. So looking at reading on grade level achieving schools. So when we looked at individual schools and things, we pulled out some of our high flyers that we saw. So on this slide, we have our schools that had reading on grade level for their first grade, their second grade, and their third grade. And then I did throw in if their kindergarten had above 70% in that blue area as well for some of those schools. So we really want to celebrate these schools that hit that, and I hope that you can celebrate with those schools as well and let them know how much we appreciate their achievements that they have seen, and how they are moving forward with this with the things that they are doing. And hopefully you can get into these schools and see what is working well and help to replicate that in some of the other district or LEA schools that you're going to as well. And I do know that my team, we are going to try and get into some of these schools also and see some things that they are doing that are working well that we can share with all of you, hopefully in the next few LD meetings. So really wanted to focus on those. And then my next few slides, I'm just going to take a few minutes to highlight that the next few slides that I'm going to share are all of our schools that had the third grade get 70% or higher on reading on grade level. And so I'm just going to kind of share a few of, they're all on there, but I'm going to just pause for a few minutes on each slide for you to take a look and see these schools and highlight them and let them know that we are recognizing them for their achievement as well, and either hitting that 70% or higher in having their third graders reading on grade level. So we're super excited about these schools as well. And I'll just pause for a minute to look over these ones on this slide. And then we have one more slide too. So Yes, Jandy. Yes, nice to see the impacts of understanding the science of reading, right? We're so excited to. I know last year we had one school that had first, second, and third grade hit reading on grade level. And this year, look at how many more schools. And we had probably about half as many schools have the third grade reading on grade level hit. So to have almost double what we had last year is just super impressive, and so grateful for the hard work that they are putting in. And we'll just highlight this last slide here. And we are going to do something to honor these schools that you just saw on these slides and our Science of Reading Award winners. So on October 27th, we are going to have a Science of Reading Awards recognition night. And so emails went out to principals, literacy leaders, and superintendents, letting them know that we are going to be having this night and wanted to save the date. And we are looking for, we're trying to gather how many people will be attending so that we can appropriately plan for dessert and things like that. Dress code, wear nice clothing. Like, we want it to be nice. Yes. I would say you don't have to go out and buy formal, but we would like it to be very nice and very elegant. So we are looking forward to that. So we send out an email to the principals, and so we are looking to highlight these third grade teachers. So the people who are invited to our awards night are our Science of Reading Award recipients. So everybody who has received a Science of Reading Award got an invite as well. So we're looking, if you have some of those within your LEA, we would like you to make sure that they know to come to that night. We will be spotlighting them and giving them a certificate and highlighting them. Schools that had third grade meet the reading on grade level, so or 70% or higher. So those schools that were just on the previous slides, those are the schools where the third grade teachers are invited to attend. We would also like to include from the schools and the LEAs, the LEA leader or superintendent or director, principals, coaches that helped those third grade teachers, and then the third grade teachers as well. So we are looking at highlighting those third grade teachers and those additional people that support them in their building as well. Reading on grade level is blue only, correct, not blue and green. Was it sent only to principals of the schools that received it? Yes, it was only sent to the principals of the schools that received it. And then it was sent to LEA leaders, literacy leaders, and the superintendents. And then the other thing that we are going to do, because we have seen so much growth in so many schools, but they maybe didn't accomplish that 70%. So we want to also recognize them. So we will be emailing the school principals a certificate of growth in reading on grade level from the beginning of last year to the end of last year. So if a school was 10% to 20%, they'll receive an award, and this will be for all grade levels in first, second, or third grade. So if they had a 10 to 19% increase, they're going to receive an award that says, congratulations to your first grade team for increasing your reading on grade level by 10, 20, 10, 15%. And then if there are some that also had 20% or higher increase from beginning of the year to the end of the year. And so we will be sending them a certificate that shows that they had over that 20% for those grade levels too, because we want to recognize that there are so many schools making so much improvement. We know that they are doing things that are amazing and are great. So we are also going to be sending those around to let them know how much we appreciate the hard work that they are doing in each of those grade levels as well. So, Thank you, Angie. Yes, we know that there are great things happening, and we want everybody to be recognized for the work that they are putting in because we know it's hard. We've asked a lot of teachers, and they are making changes and they are doing the things. And so we want them to know that we see that they are doing those things, and then they are making those improvements. So yes, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's what we can do right now is give a certificate. Um, and then I'm going to turn it over to, I think, is Courtney, are you starting with the professional? No, Christine?
Christine is starting.
Okay, Christine, I will turn it over to Christine. Okay.
Thanks. I was having a difficulty finding that unmute button, so my apologies for that. So we are very excited to be offering some more writing professional learning. We had um, a huge opportunity last year to participate in Keys to Literacy, writing for early writing and content writing. And we had so many participants who wanted to get in, and then we just didn't have enough slots. So we're really excited to be able to offer another opportunity. It's going to look a little different, but we're excited about it. Keys to Literacy, their founder is Joan Sedita. She is the creator of the Writing Rope Framework. She is an amazing woman, and we have just really enjoyed partnering up with Keys to Literacy on some of our offerings. So if you'll go ahead and switch it to the next slide. So we are going to be once again offering early writing and content writing. These early writing is usually geared for kindergarten through second grade teachers, and it covers some of the writing basics, sentences, structure types for writing, the first steps, goes through the drawing, the labels, the lists, and it hits a little bit of the paragraph writing. But then we also have the content writing, which is really geared for third grade through sixth grade, and it has the writing basics. It also does do some stuff with sentences, of course, and paragraphs. It talks about summary writing, the 3 types of writing, and writing from sources. Both of those were highly attended last year. We had great feedback from our teachers who were able to participate. And so those are the 2 offerings we're going to continue to offer this year. And then I'm going to have Harmony, who's partnering up with me on leading out on this project, and she's going to share the rest of the information.
Okay, I'll change that slide, Julie. Thank you. So we were very fortunate this summer to have many leaders in our state, mostly coaches who were trained to be Keys to Writing facilitators for the Keys to Early Writing and the Keys to Content Writing. And we have been able to register many people from the schools in which those coaches work, and we still have 150 additional spots available for individuals to be trained in Keys to Early Writing or Keys to Content Writing. And so what we'd like to do is offer those to any school groups who would like to participate. You would sign up as a school, or it could even be a district group, and then we would assign one of our trained facilitators to provide that provide a portion of that training to you. Part of that training will also be on asynchronous hours that are done online, which take about 12 hours. And I will say that as far as asynchronous trainings go, this is a very high quality one. I think teachers will really appreciate the opportunity to engage in that and to have access to that information from the asynchronous training. That in asynchronous training, after every 4 hours of that approximately, then there will be a follow-up debrief session that will support the implementation of what's been learned from the training. And we're excited to be able to offer 1.5 USBE credits for participation in this. One thing that is critical is that we have to start it during this school year. So they would have to decide to act on that soon if they would like to participate. You can flip to the next slide, and this just is an outline of what is required to participate. It would be for, as we said, we can do K2 with early literacy and 3 through 6 with the content area literacy as a school team. And then they would be required to complete the 12 hours of asynchronous online training. In order to get that USBE credit, they'll need to complete reflection journal assignments that accompany that online training, and then attend 3 in-person implementation support sessions that would be presented by our facilitators that have been trained in our state now. So the QR code there will bring you to a Google form where you can sign up and indicate your interest in having a group participate. So we hope that we can get those last 150 spots filled quickly. That registration is absolutely free to those who are willing to meet those requirements to participate. And then before I pass it on to Courtney, I also want to say that we will be doing the From the Science to the Classroom webinars again this year. We do not have a flyer yet. We're waiting on a few very slow to communicate presenters who will be worth the wait, I guarantee it. But the flyer is not fully prepared yet. So we will get that to you soon, but be watching for that.
Harmony, there's a couple of questions in the chat.
Yeah. So the trainings that are in person are only about 45 minutes long. So very brief, could be during if you have like an early out time, that would be a good day to do that with professional learning. And we could do in-person sessions, I can't say that word today, sessions in St. George or Cedar. We would come to you if you have a school group that wants to participate. Absolutely, the facilitators would come to you. So your people would get and they would get the license as well as the manuals that come with it that have all the information for later reference. Did you want to add something, Christine?
Yeah, I was just going to add, because I've received a couple emails about it. So yes, we will take and we will try to form cohorts of schools or schools that are close to each other. And then that in person, like Hermie said, we will come, the facilitator will come to you. They will schedule that around your teachers who are in the cohort. Like the schedule will be around you. So it'll be on your time frame and those kind of things. So just thought I'd add that. Thank you.
And it would be great if we could have at least 10 to 15 in a group, but you can coordinate with other schools to reach those numbers if that would help you to achieve that and allow as many people as possible to participate in that.
And someone had also asked if they could do both. We did have, well, I guess we had our facilitators did both. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to sign up for early end content, that would be fine.
And leaders can participate as well, yes. Leaders, coaches, teachers. All right, let's send it over to Courtney.
All right, Julie, if you'll go to the next slide. So another really exciting professional learning that we have coming up is a fluency and comprehension instruction with Jake Downs from Utah State. And actually Jake is on with us. And so I'm going to just let him speak a little bit to his professional learning, and then we'll answer some questions that come up with that. So Jake, if you want to go ahead and jump on.
Yeah, my sound's working okay, coming through good. Perfect.
Yep.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here. My name's Jake. I'm an assistant professor at Utah State. I was one of with SB 127. There were science of reading faculty that were hired at each of the higher ed institutions in Utah, and I was lucky enough to be the one for Utah State. So my background is Cache County School District. I taught in upper elementary grades. I spent time as an instructional coach there and a couple years as the literacy coordinator, and really gratefully working with the undergraduates and doing research now as well. I'm excited to partner with USBE to offer this comprehension support this year, and primarily because I think there's so many comprehension practices that get used. There's a lot of noise to it. If we were as a group to list all the comprehension practices that we've heard of in the last 20 years, it would be a pretty long list. And so part of it comes to stand to say, well, which ones are the most important? Which ones are going to lead to the greatest effect? But even more than that, how do we arrange those practices in a way where comprehension is actually building on it on each other rather than just sort of isolated in different silos. So like if we think of how we do a phonics lesson, we start with a sound, we start with a phoneme, and then we layer on a grapheme, and then we practice reading that grapheme in the beginning and the medial and the end of words, and then we build up to sentences and then decodable and connected text before going to like grade level text. Like there's a sequence that happens there. There's layers of practice that happen going from more simple to more complex. And reading comprehension operates a lot the same way. So we're going to be talking about not only which practices really give you a big bang for your buck, but also how to arrange them in a way so that you're actually building text understanding, building understanding across text rather than just playing whack-a-mole. I'm a big believer in baking with the flour you've got. So a lot of it will be on how do we do this with core reading programs? How do we bend and wrangle the core reading program to serve us and to be able to really support our students' comprehension needs? But also, what does it look like with the USBE ELA standards? How do we arrange the standards also in a way that's complementing our instruction and with the text? So yeah, really excited, and to be able to have full day sessions on this to dig in deep is going to be great. We are having 3 locations, so there'll be a northern Utah one in Weber County, one in Salt Lake, but both of those are filled. They filled pretty quickly after it was announced. So currently it's the Utah County location that if you're interested in attending, that would be great to attend. And then we also in June will have sessions in Iron County for folks in southern Utah. I think, Courtney, is there anything you wanted to chip in? And I'm happy to field any questions specifically as well.
Yeah, so we do have a wait list for Weber and Salt Lake. And Salt Lake I was at a school, I was actually down in King County yesterday. So Salt Lake kind of filled yesterday. So if you're still wondering, those emails will all finish coming out today with that. But there are some wait lists. If you're signing up, it needs to be your team with a literacy coach and or a principal to come. We really want to make sure that you're coming with a team, and then we have a plan for implementation. Jake's going to have a little bit of time at the end of every session in order to put those plans into practice. And so we want to make sure that you have your team there. Now, some districts have chosen to make that team, teacher leaders across different buildings within that grade level. And then so it doesn't have to be all within one school team, but it does need to be a team that's coming all to the same session with a coach. And then we're hoping that Iron County will be announced within the next couple of days. We're just working on finalizing a location for those dates. Yeah. But probably the first week of June is where we're looking. So.
And I would just throw in there about the teams. Yeah, so I mean, we have thought of this as like a traditional grade level team, plus a reading coach or an administrator. But, we are willing to be flexible on how the team is constituted. So if if there's a coach from another building that wanted to attend with an existing team, or, we're willing to be flexible. We just we didn't want sort of a lone wolf style implementation. We want folks from the same the same education context collaborating together on this. So if you have questions of would this constitute a team, you can email Courtney, email me and CC Courtney or whatever, and we're happy to sort of bounce ideas off of that. But don't let the team aspect of it being a hang up if you don't have that traditional setup ready at hand.
So there was a flyer that was in our LD listserv, and we'll send that back out. But yes, we can send that out and put it in. I can drop a link in here. The link I dropped earlier was just to the form to sign up, but I can grab a flyer and drop that in as well. But yeah, it's been out in our listserv. And then in Iron County, it's just going to be a week-long 4 days in a row. So it won't be 6 full days in Iron County for the summer. It will just be 4 days in a row in June. And again, we're just looking at that first week in June. I know Iron County schools get out on June 1st, so we're kind of trying to make sure that we aren't doing it on June 1st. That's where we're trying to get our location solidified there. So the Iron County will be a little bit condensed.
Yeah.
So, any other questions? Julie, if you want to go to the next slide, that one just has the summer information. And I will send that out also in the LD listserv on Tuesday. Hopefully we'll have that solidified by then. So you'll have that link for the summer one. But thank you, Jake, for taking time to come and give a little bit of background on this. And we're really excited for this opportunity. We often don't have a lot for our upper grade teachers, so this is a really good opportunity to reach those upper grade teachers and really help get that information to them. I will double check the link for the screen. My link is showing it's working, but I'll double check it and make sure I get the right link dropped into the chat. All right, any other questions for Jake before we let him head off to his busy day?
Also, Jake did like a little snippet of what he's planning on doing last year. And it was so well attended and had such amazing feedback. So it is a great opportunity for those upper grade teachers, and we're really looking forward to it. And we know that if we engage them, then change over the course of a year, then change happens in the classroom. So it's really set up to really support them in changing practices and in their classes. So,
and I will just to piggyback off that, not to belabor the point, but I really do try to meet the upper elementary teachers where they're at. I think sometimes upper elementary folks are sensitive to, oh, this is just a K2 thing repackaged for me. And I try to really say, okay, like we're looking at fluency and accuracy, but what does an upper elementary lens look like for that? What is like, I do try to meet them where they're at. And I think that tends to be better received on their end. So anyway, yeah, looking forward to seeing all your folks out there throughout the year.
Great. All right. And then just one other professional learning I wanted to let you know about is our K3 literacy team. We have loved coming and visiting schools and doing professional learning for you. And here's just a few topics that we've been doing recently around the state. And we are more than happy to come and work with your district or teachers on a grade level. These can look a lot of different, they can look however you need them to look for you to be successful in your school. So if you're interested in having someone, a couple of us or one of us come from our K3 literacy team, we're happy to come out and provide some professional learning. We just ask that you have it approved by your LEA leaders so that they know that we're coming and it's in conjunction with what's going on in your district. We would like your coach or principal to attend so that it can be followed up and implemented, and then an implementation plan. So we're really trying to get away from the one and done professional learning. We know that there's not a lot of research that supports implementation if we just come one time and then it's never followed up on. So that doesn't necessarily mean that we'll come multiple times, but that if we come and we present something on writing, that the future PLC meetings or some professional development days within your school would also follow up on that same professional learning so that we can make sure that those are being implemented into the classroom, so that hopefully we can see the growth. We know that teachers have a lot of language and a lot of knowledge around science of reading. And now we're really just trying to, what does this look like in the implementation phase of our classroom so that we can start to see that. So there's a QR code and I will put a link in there as well for this. And you're welcome to sign up, and then I will just reach out to get some more information from you on when you would like to do that. So is there any questions regarding that?
All right, we're going to move on to community engagement. We are very excited. We are, like many of the things that we're presenting today, we are in the planning process for 6 regional literacy events that the USBE will be hosting. We are working closely with our community engagement specialist, Susie Estrada. She's kind of leading out on this project, and we are helping support the literacy components. But we are hoping to engage community partners. We're going to have an exhibitors hall, breakout sessions for parents. Those breakout sessions for parents are going to have PA, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, and oral language activities that are really geared at what those parents can do to support those young readers at home in those areas. And hopefully they'll have something to take back home that they can actually use and get excited about. We have dates and locations. They are coming soon. Susie is working on securing venues right now, but we are looking at these will be hosted maybe a few in February, March, maybe the middle of April. We were trying to avoid spring break and the testing window at all possible. So please look in if you're getting those weekly LD meeting. If you're on the LD listserv, you'll be hearing as soon as we get the date secure. We will be sharing those out. We may be asking for some help as we would really like to get some teachers to help us with those breakout sessions. So we're excited about that. We have San Juan, Washington, or Iron, Nebo, Casher, Logan, maybe Weber or Ogden, maybe the south end of Davis County. So we are trying to spread it out across the state, and we're very excited about that. So like Julie just posted in the chat, they're regional events. So it's not just for a school or a school district. We'll be messaging out to entire communities, if that makes sense. So we're really excited about it. We think it's going to really get parents and communities on board and in support of our literacy goals that we believe that all students can learn to read. And we want to offer them the supports to be able to help their students. And we're just really excited about it. So we will be looking for those messages coming soon, and we'll be sharing those out when we have them, hopefully very soon. And then Harmony, I think your webinar series.
As I mentioned previously, there isn't a flyer, so it will be coming soon, but there's some great presenters to look forward to. We'll kick it off with Molly Ness in October. Anita Archer, of course, will be one of those. We have Laura Stewart joining us, several to look forward to. So watch for that in a forthcoming information.
Okay, and we are at our next break time, so we'll go ahead and take another 10-minute break. I think we're a little bit ahead of schedule now, so we'll come back at 10:55, 10:56-ish, and I did see a couple of questions in there. We'll try and answer them during the break, so we'll see you in 10. All right, welcome back, everybody. We will get started with the last portion of our meeting, and we're going to go over some resources and some reminders, and then we'll have Q&A. So I am going to hand it over to Sammy Willie, our Science of Reading Education Specialist. So she's going to share some resources and some updates.
Thank you, Julie. I apologize if I'm looking over here. The slide is much bigger over here and my eyes can't see it on my tiny little screen. So I'm not ignoring you all, just trying to read. So we just wanted to share a new tool that we have created. I actually have been sharing this already for the past few weeks with administrators who have a SB 127 early literacy coach. This is a new literacy walkthrough tool. We kind of felt like it was a bit of a challenge. We knew how important these literacy classroom walkthroughs were, but a lot of the tools that are out there and ones that are most commonly used are very heavy, super complex, use a lot of acronyms, literacy jargon, all of that. And I really wanted to create something that anyone could pick up, even if you didn't have an extensive literacy background, and be able to walk into a classroom and know what to be looking for. What should the teacher be saying? What are some activities you might be seeing? What should the students be doing? So that's why this was created. This new tool is going to provide more of a streamlined and focused way to observe the key literacy practices in a classroom. I designed it in a way with the most important thing I wanted was quick and effective, and anyone, even if you didn't have a literacy background, could go into a classroom and do it. The key benefits are clarity and focus. Kind of got rid of all the excess clutter and just made it, this is what you should be looking for. Consistency. This, from a state level in particular, we try to be as consistent as possible and to make sure that we're gathering the same data as consistent as possible. I know that can be an issue in large LEAs, even in a school building. So that was something else that was considered. Efficiency. It can help complete a walkthrough in just a few minutes, which we know how important and valuable everybody's time is, as well as provide actionable data. You want to be able to leave a classroom with, okay, here's an action I can take tomorrow. So, Julie, if you will advance for me. This is just a snapshot of it. Julie, are you able to open the link? Would that be too challenging? Okay, thank you. So I just kind of want to show, now, when you open this, it's like a 35-page document. I would never say go into a classroom and use all 35 pages. I did break it down into sections. So you can see right here, it's section 1, teaching phonological awareness. I have added exemplars for each of the different specific skills that you are looking for. Thank you, Julie, for scrolling down. This is a very similar format to the letters applications of concepts tool. So if it looks familiar, that's why. Essentially, you're going to be looking for a specific skill, saying, is that skill present? Yes or no, evidence, and then you've got the exemplars. It is broken down, so you can see that's the end right there. I think that I don't have the most up to date. Oh, no, I do. Just kidding. Ignore me. If you scroll all the way to the end of, oh no, that's not the right link, because see where it says section 2, there's a breaking point after each of the sections with a couple of questions to answer. So I'll go in and update that link. But my suggestion would be to pick one section to do at a time, and you should be able to walk into a classroom, do that observation, and then have that actionable data. But it is broken down for you that way. I will go in and update that link as well as drop an updated link in the chat for everyone. But before I move on from that one, are there any questions or feedback, really?
Hi, Sammy.
Hi.
We created something similar, mostly for when I'm working with administrators, so they, really know what to look for, and for teachers. So I'll take a look at this and see what we missed. Thank you. One piece of feedback that I would request would be for possibly the first column, but definitely the second column to be a little narrower so that the notes and evidence column can be a little
Yeah,
bigger.
beefier.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's a great point. And you know what? You are welcome to take this and adapt it however,
Okay.
best fits you. And again, this is something people can use or they can never look at again. I just felt like it was something we were missing in, and we're really promoting as many classroom walkthroughs as possible to really make that a part of day-to-day school culture. So that's why this was created. But thank you for that feedback. And again, feel free to adjust it as needed.
Hey, thank you. This is great.
Yeah. I see a question in the chat. Where can I find this? It is linked in the slides, but I'm also going to drop an updated link here. Was it on the LD listserv, Julie? I don't know that it was. Okay. Maybe we could add it to the next one that goes out. We'll make sure it's on there. but I will make sure to put it in this chat and update the link because it's not the most up-to-date format in that link there. I tried to make it as easy as possible, but I made a mistake with the wrong link. So, okay, awesome. Thank you, Julie. All right, next thing we want to announce is we were approached by Johns Hopkins University to do some research. They were really interested in our legislation and the work we're doing around SB 127 and the effect that that's having on teachers and classrooms and most importantly, students. So we are excited to announce that we are going to be doing a survey of curriculum use with Johns Hopkins. If you'll advance, Julie. Thank you. So the purpose of this is to collect and analyze data at a teacher level to better understand the curriculum and instructional practices being used in Utah classrooms. So this survey is going to open September 29th and it'll close October 27th. I did just get an email from Johns Hopkins that they are planning on sending out an email to all administrators, LEA leaders, with more information on this tomorrow. So that should be coming out. Check your emails, be aware of that it should be coming tomorrow. I do want to note that participation in this survey is completely voluntary. There's absolutely no penalties for not participating, but we are please encouraging as many people as possible and educators to participate. It should be only about 15 to 20 minutes to complete. It's fairly easy. Both Julie and I have gone through it multiple times, tried to make it as applicable to Utah teachers as possible. And I really think we can glean some really great information and again, actionable data. So we are please encouraging as many teachers to take it as possible. So will you as leaders please help spread the information, provide information on this. So, oh yeah, I already said John Hopkins will be reaching out to you. She said tomorrow, so that's when that should be coming. And then I've got a few emails on here as well that you can reach out with questions. So if you have any questions from like USBE's standpoint, feel free to reach out to me. Sammy, my email's right there. General survey questions would go to Dr. Keisha Jackson, and I believe she's the one that you will be receiving an email from tomorrow as well. And then any research questions can be directed to Dr. David Steiner. Yeah, so we are super excited about this one. I'm looking for questions in the chat here. Julie added the board is also looking forward to this information. So if you'll encourage it, and it is completely anonymous. Thanks for adding that. Yes, I believe that they will be sharing a link with some very general, it'll probably be a repeat of a lot of what I just told you, but it will have the link for you to be able to share. And we wanted to have it open for that time period as well to make sure that there was adequate time for teachers to turn around and take it. What is the chain of command for sharing the survey? I believe it's going directly to school administrators, so it will be going to principals. But if at the LEA level, you can make your principals aware, hey, this is coming, please make sure that you're sharing that on. That would be extremely helpful. All right, any other questions on that piece?
There is also a survey for principals and coaches to take as well.
Oh, yes, thank you.
So keep that in mind because we also want to kind of gather gather information from principals and coaches. So so we encourage your principals and coaches to take it as well, not just your teachers, but that would be helpful to kind of glean their insight and what they've been doing to implement. And so it is, you know, it is one of those ones where it's like if you pick principal, it's going to send you down this path. And if you pick coach, it's going to send you down this path. And if you pick teacher, it's going to send you down this path. So the questions are different for principals and coaches from the teachers. So, yeah. And if you're all three in your LEA, you can pick one.
I don't believe, Bernice, it has a section for LEA leaders. We really just need you to help encourage and spread the message. It's principals, coaches, and teachers. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I think this might be me. I can't remember, but I think this is me. So we had a reorg that happened in our agency in June, and with that reorg, it was basically done to just kind of help balance out section and team size. So previously I had underneath me, I had our literacy team and I had our preschool team. And with the reorg, the preschool team was able to get their own team. So we were super excited for them. And then I took on Naomi Watkins, who is our secondary ELA specialist. So she came to our team. So we restructured and we renamed our team the English Language Arts team. And with that, we combined our elementary and secondary website. And so our new website, and we have shared this out in our LD listserv for a few weeks to try to remind people that we have a new location and landing page. So the end of it, it used to be like elementary ELA or something like that, but now it is just English Language Arts at the end of there. So all of our links are still they're just falling under that. So you may end up with some broken links if you're trying to access things that you bookmarked in the past. So you'll just need to go to our new page and rebookmark them. And then we also want to remind of our elementary Language Arts eMedia Hub, where we have resources for teachers, coaches, parents, leaders and principals all on that eMedia Hub. And so just know that there are those resources there. There are some exemplar videos for teachers to be able to watch as well. And then, Christine, I think this is you.
Yeah, so we do have our updated 25-26 LEA curriculum list. It is looking great. You just need to click on the picture right there and it will take you directly to that. And we call it a draft because we have some LEAs that we're working with, so we may be changing some things. I just wanted to talk about the color coding because we also changed that. Green means the curriculum has been reviewed by the committee and it meets the guidelines set in SB 127. So it's gone through the RIMS process and it does meet. Red means it was reviewed by the committee and does not meet the guidelines, or because a later edition of the curriculum failed, all earlier editions are also considered to not have met the guidelines. That is just a little change from last year. We did notice that we had some curriculums they didn't meet and people were using ones from previous years. Usually publishers will typically the previous one isn't any better than the later one. We are excited though. We do have a lot of the publishers that have made gains and are changing. I think they're hearing from the field around the nation that we are expecting higher quality curriculums, and so they're making changes, which is fantastic. Yellow means the curriculum has not been reviewed by the committee. It has not gone through the RIMS process. And then we have black. Last year, we really focused on the core programs and we asked those that, hadn't gone through the review, if you would do a checklist, you'd fill a checklist and send that out. So that's where black comes from. The curriculum has not been reviewed by the committee, but the LEA completed a checklist. So that is done. And then the purple, we added purple. The curriculum was approved, it just in a different category. The vendor can only select one category when they submit into REMS. So we have, for example, we have a lot of LEAs that are using Haggerty for Core 1, and they're also using it during their intervention time. So you'll see there's some purple in there. That's where the purple came from. And then we are currently in the middle of a review process. We have curriculum being reviewed right now. And so we did add an asterisk at the end. For example, Cache School District, they have an intervention program called Phonics for Reading. That's under review right now. It's being reviewed right now. So if you see an asterisk, that's why the asterisk just means it's being reviewed right now. So we are excited to share that. If by chance these came directly from the Qualtrics survey that you filled out, or someone in your LEA filled out about what curriculums you were using. And so if there are any mistakes or we have missed anything, I try to reach out. I know how busy everyone is. I did mostly get most of the responses back, just missing a few. But if there are some changes in there, some things that you've adjusted, just email me directly. I'll put my email in the chat and I will update that list. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Okay, and just a couple of reminders really quick. I did see in the chat box earlier, how did we get on the list to get this information? So if you are not receiving emails every Tuesday afternoon from our team, they usually come from Charlotte, please join the Literacy Directors listserv or share this with others in your LEA that should be on it that maybe aren't on it. So yes, if you want to invite area directors and supervisor principals, to the recognition night, yes, that's fine, Angie, that's great, yes, because they are supporting and helping them along with that as well. And so to sign up, and all you have to do is put subscribe in the subject line to this email list, and it will add you to the listserv. Or you can contact Charla Lucero. Her email is here, and she will add you to the listserv. So please share with others that should be on the list. If you're not, she sends them out faithfully every Tuesday afternoon about between like 1 and 3. So if you're not getting an email from us on Tuesdays from 1 and 3, get on the listserv. So we send out stuff weekly so that you have information about the latest things that are happening, the flyers, the sign-up sheets, meeting invites, and additional information always comes through that listserv. So we also try to include some of the things that are shared with assessment directors that pertain to Acadience and RISE. So we do try to include those that go out on the AD listserv. We also copy them and put them on our LD listserv as they pertain to the folks in our world as well. So know that we are trying to get the same information out to everybody in all of the proper channels. So please get on our listserv if you haven't already. So we are hopeful that we can get that, get everybody on there and make sure everybody is aware. And then the next little reminder is our dates for our upcoming literacy director meetings. They will all be virtual this year. So our next one will be November 13th from 9 to 12, January 22nd from 9 to 12, and then March 17th from 9 to 12. And I know that we had to change a couple of the dates. I know this being one of them, and I believe the January date also had to change. With our reorg and a lot of the changes that we've had in superintendency, they told us we could no longer have meetings like on Tuesday mornings from like 9 to 12. And I was like, cool, that's when I have my literacy director meetings. I think I was able to keep one of them. So if there is one on a Tuesday, we're good. I got permission, but yeah, so sorry about having to change those, but these are the dates for the rest of the year. So, and then we'll be looking forward to getting the next year scheduled here soon. So we'll be looking forward to that. And then I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording because a lot of the times we have people who are like, please don't record my question. So, um,